to Stories of the Dark. I am your host, Glen Clark, and in this edition, I'm going to be playing for you the tours that myself and BlakCircleGirl and I took on January 26th. We went out to Calico Ghost Town and did the Maggie Mine tour as well as the Schoolhouse tour. We did it once before a couple of months ago, but we wanted to go back and re-experience it and take some more pictures and try to get some EVPs, but that didn't quite work out the way we thought. I did catch one picture that I will post on my Twitter. In fact, while I was taking the picture, I happened to look above the phone I was taking the picture on and saw like a black figure move from one end of the mine to the other. And in the photo, when you see it, you'll see like a white streak, almost like an orb, and it doesn't look like it was dust or anything like that. So I thought it was worthy to post and have you all look at it. And I know I haven't been on the air for a while. Work and stuff have kept us both busy, but we are working on different projects. We're looking to do some paranormal investigations. I'm in touch with a couple of different projects trying to get permission to do those, so that'll be in a future show possibly, to see what the answer is I get from those. Also, you can I have exclusive members only content on my Patreon account. That's at patreon.com/storiesofthedark. Also on Buy Me a Coffee. That's at buymeacoffee.com/storiesofthedark as well. We'll also have links posted on the in the links section of the videos, so you can look at those. And thank you to my over 500 followers now on Twitter. I really appreciate that. Also appreciate all the Lyft and Uber customers that I've had that have expressed interest in the program. And I appreciate your support. So right now we're going to start with the Maggie Mine tour. I'm going to bring you that audio in its entirety. Our tour guides that night were Patty and LT, and they also shared several good ghost stories that I hope you all enjoy. So I'll bring you that, and then I'll come back and we'll play the Schoolhouse tour as well. I'm Glen Clark, and this is Stories of the Dark.
Okay, everybody, come on in. Go up to the front desk there. Look to the front desk. Watch the corner down there. Watch the corner down there.
Oh, they have beanies here, yeah.
Okay, everybody scoot up by this door over here, behind you. Just kind of reach up there. You okay? Hey.
So you're going to give us a flashlight?
I sure will. I know, it's because we
Exactly.
and these here are for rent. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so we don't need a flashlight.
Right? We will need.
Must be included.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Oh, we have the hand.
Yeah, we've got our little...
Hey, look, it matches his shirt. Yeah. Well, you're going to look great in that black light in there. Man, did you need one?
Put on your hand.
Yeah, right in here, it shows, sorry, my back's, it shows off our rocks in here that have got different minerals and things in them.
Thank you.
Why, thank you. He's by himself, so keep him
in line.
Yeah, keep him in line back there. Everybody got a flashlight.
We're gonna keep Jason in line.
Okay. First things first, we want you to we want you to take as many pictures as you possibly can. When we come out, we're gonna have 2 people just keep on taking pictures. You always catch something in it. We have orbs, which are perfectly round. We also have the orbs that move, and it's this streak of white that goes like up here to here or over. And bugs, it can't be a bug because your thing goes so quick it has to already be there for the picture to be taken. So those are really neat things in the pictures. What we need you to do if you're using your phone is to turn down your volume. And if you're going to be taking a picture with your flash, just make sure that everybody knows you're flashing. Okay. No.
I like it.
Everybody knows you're going to be flashing your light, camera light. Ooh. That was close. Okay, I gotta turn mine down too. Okay, there it goes. Your ringtone can go down to vibrate as well as your gains, so they don't start playing too. Okay, so we got that all taken care of. Now, if you're going to be taking or using your flash, we need you to let everybody know that you're going to be doing this so that it doesn't blind different people. Be kind of courteous to each other. Another thing with the flashlights, a lot of people just, whoop, and they look up here or the whoop down there and there's a person standing here and they get blinded. So if you're going to just turn your light off and look up and then down, or you just put your hand on it and then you can look up. And when you're walking this way, it does tend to get people in the eye too when you're talking. So be very careful with that also, because it's real dark in there. Okay, I'm going to tell you your first ghost story of the night. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This here is a tour. People come in all day and they take self-guiding tours through the mine, and it lets off at the other end. And at night, at 5 o'clock, the person that's in here, they close and lock that door, and make sure this door over here is locked from the inside. That means nobody, not even the boss, can get in. And then she takes care of all the details and makes sure that everything is in its place. Puts her stuff here, and then she goes in the back. Now she goes in the back so she can make sure nobody is in here or in there, and that there's no trash or anything. So this one night, she came walking out here after she was inside the mine, and she realized that something was different. And she picked up her stuff and she went to go. And if you turn around and look on that shelf, you see those T-shirts that are in the little, well, there was like 30 of them right here in the middle of the floor. She had no idea. She said she had goosebumps and hair standing from one end to the other. She said that she grabbed her stuff, she hit that door and was down in the main street within a second. I mean, she was scared. Told me the next morning, and she says, I hope those spirits put away those T-shirts. Of course, she got up here and they were still on the floor. But the reason I tell you that is because when LT and I come in here to get everything ready for the tour, I make sure everything is in its place. And I can't tell you how many times over the past almost 8 years that we've been doing the tours, people come in and say, hey, there's a T-shirt on the floor, or there's a helmet over here. Well, I just nonchalantly go over and pick it up, and I hand it to them, and I say, would you put that over there for me? And of course, they go over and put it there, and then I tell them this story. It never fails. They always go, and you had me touch that? No way. Go ahead, LT.
All right, tell you guys how to perceive ghosts here. You may actually hear something associated with the ghost, clicking, tapping, moaning, something inside the mine. Also, they like to reach out and touch, especially the ladies. The girls, if they touch you, just shoo them away. They're just little miners, give them a break. Also, you might see something like a foggy figure or shadow figure or full apparition, okay? If you see something or you think you see something, just whip up your camera and say, I'm taking a picture. Boom. All right. Also, if you think they're touching you from behind, do a selfie. Might get them like that, too.
Or we might get your husband or your best friend. It caught in the nice. Or your sister caught in the act.
Yeah, they're nice ghosts.
Hey guys, we are going around the corner here. I want to show you some things before we go in.
One thing that I've noticed is that this is not a haunted ghost town. This is an occupied. They're very good. They're here because they want to be here.
Yeah, just push on down here, guys.
They're coming around the other side too.
Okay, I've got drills up here on the wall, and I've got a drill hammer. Now, all the mines in this area are hard rock. That means they drilled holes in the rock, put the dynamite in, and blasted the tunnels through. Now, in the early days, they did it all by hand. One guy would hold a drill, another guy would take a big sledgehammer, hit it, turn it, hit it, turn it, hit it, turn it, until they had the hole drilled. A lot of labor right there. Then in the late 1880s, they brought up the air hammers, the air compressors, and the steam engines. All right, and these were brand new. And the problem with brand new stuff like that is that they don't work very well sometimes. And once in a great while, they would just explode, either castrating the guy or killing the guy outright using it. That's why they call these things the Widowmakers. Always better to be the guy picking up rocks than using one of those. Now, if you look up here in the cabinet, there's a 20-mule team wagon, right? Now, these are not small wagons. The wagon in the rear is a water wagon. Now, on the way out, I'm going to show you a water wagon we had attached to one of our 20-mule team wagons. The wagons themselves are pretty big wagons. The wheels, the rear wheel was 8 feet tall. The front wheel on this one is 4 feet. That's because these ran through Death Valley nice and smooth and flat and easy. When they brought them out here, our roads were so terrible that they kept breaking front axles and front wheels, so they put a 6-foot wheel on there, and that took care of the problem. Now, the wagons themselves are 16 feet long, 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, and they held 32,000 pounds of ore, or 16 tons. That's a lot of weight right there. The 20 mules, they made 20 miles a day, no matter how cold it was on the outside or how hot. Always 20 miles. These were like the big rigs of their time. Okay, everybody just kind of come
You
on
can come
over
around
here.
this way.
Right partner, you are my button.
You can come around this way and you and your family.
Okay. I've got an ore car here. Got a man pushing the ore car, but I guarantee you, when this thing is
Scoot up a little bit.
ore, they cannot push this thing around.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Keep going. Scoot, boys, go up there by LT.
Yeah, it does go to.
He won't throw something at you, I promise.
It is blood. On my last tour, somebody pushed the blue buttons in it.
Go ahead.
Look here, I've got a piece of silver ore. Now, somebody spray painted this silver. It's not really this color. Silver is black because it always tarnishes. So I'm going to pass this around. Heavy, don't drop it on your toes, guys. We'll break them.
And then they go.
Now, that's probably got a little bit of iron in it,
That's a
a little bit of lead, mostly silver. It is heavy. That's what came out of the mine.
Be very careful. Do you want to fill this rock? It's just a rock.
I'm okay.
Go behind you.
What's him?
Oh yeah, it is is heavy.
No, it's not.
Get a
Well, she just picked that right up.
back, my hair.
Okay, Patty's got some pictures here. She's gonna show you
Right
some
behind
things
you, baby.
before we get started.
Come up this way so you can see my hand. Okay, this is what Calico looked like in 1890. This is when it was a moving little town. And up here's the schoolhouse. That's at the top of our hill. And then here's the main street that you walk down. Over here's where you parked your cars. Now right here, this building just got
Refurbished.
thank you. Just got refurbished. And it is the only wooden structure that has survived time since 1884, when it was built. Now rumors have it that these little bitty buildings right here, and a lot of buildings over this way, are the brothels. This is the brothels, and I'm thinking that this is the parlor where the madam lived, and that's where, well, you know, that's the parlor. And then you come down here and you'll see that in 1940, the town looked a little bit bare. Right here's that building still standing. Over here is Lucy Lane's house. That's where they moved in 1920, her and her husband. But this was the store that they lived at. This is still, these two are still in the town. This is the Lane General Store. His name was John Lane. And this is where they lived. Now over here, this is the saloon. Well, it wasn't a saloon back in the day. It was a pharmacy. But when Walter Knotts came in, he made that the only saloon that was in here. I'll tell you a little bit more about the saloons later. Right over here, we believe is Joe's Saloon. And then right beside it, I think that's the print shop, because we know the print shop was up here too. But beside it up here where that little truck-like thing is, that's the Zinden building. That's where Walter Knotts, when he came here to show his son what the town looked like, he went there to buy 500 acres of Calico, and that's when he started building it. The story with Walter Knotts is that his uncle John is the one that owns the Silver King mine up here, and that's his uncle by marriage. So he kind of grew up here and went back and forth, brought his family up here, and then he went to Knott's Berry Farm and built that. And you know, there's things, if anybody's been to Knott's Berry Farm, there's a Calico, part of Calico town in there. And so when he came here, he started rebuilding. This here is the general store. This is Lucy Lane standing right here. Now Lucy Lane came here when she was about 10 or 11 years old with her kin. And she grew up off and on here in Calico. That's why she's such a big deal, because she married John, and this here is in 1894. She got married when she was 18. He asked her when she was 16. She said that she didn't want him to be called a cradle snatcher. So she waited till she was 18, and then they got married. And she passed away in 67, and she was 92 years old. She lived here off and on her whole life. So that's why she's so important. A lot of people see her walking the streets. I've seen her twice, and felt her in her house one night. So we're going to go on inside the mine right now. If you have any questions, just let us know.
All right, here we go.
Let me get through. I get the joy of doing the counting one more time. So y'all better come out.
Any extras or goods?
everybody that is short, move up front.
Oh, I'm a smidge.
Come on, you get up here. George? Come on, young lady. Come on. That's okay.
So the short ones can get eaten first?
All right. If you guys, this is mine right here. If you turn your flashlights on, we'll take a quick look at this rock entrance tunnel. You can touch it, it's okay. This is granite-like rock. Wasn't always like this. At one time, this was all sand. When we had our volcanic upheaval up here, it superheated the sand mixed with water and mud, and then about 1 million years later turned it into rock. There you go. This is called a dike. It is a shelf of rock. It goes all the way up into that big red mountain I was talking about earlier. Problem with these is there's nothing in here of any significance, no silver, no gold. But the closer we get to the mountain, you're going to see color changes and the metals are going to start popping out at you. All right,
Sophia,
let's head up this way.
wait, do I have to be
Sophia?
No, you don't have to move it.
Sophia, did you get taken?
Get eaten.
Yeah.
Sophia, go back there.
All right, go with your new friend. There's one sacrifice and I know it.
There are some places because we have a living.
Okay, now everybody is going to see this, I promise you. This is the original entrance into the mine. They found silver on top, they dug straight down, and they hauled everything out with buckets and manpower, mule power, whatever power, and until they finally cut out the entrance that we just walked into, and they put the rails on the ground and got an ore car and hauled everything in and out that way. All right.
So we can actually see silver in the, how do you know what silver looks like? You said
Silver
it's
is
black.
black. Probably won't see a lot of silver in this.
I just want some one little piece.
Okay, remind me, I'll show it to you. Okay, everybody is gonna see this as well. Got a fella in here with one of these air hammers. Now, this is called a prospect hole. None of these tunnels are here by accident. They follow veins of ore in the rock. And veins start way down below your feet where the molten rock is. Molten rock is the heaviest stuff in the world. Everything else sets on top of it, lead, gold, silver, copper. As it's pushed up to the surface, cracks the ground, pours this stuff into cracks, and 1 million years later when man's looking for it, he'll follow these cracks till they disappear. Okay, now that's what happened here. So they flipped a coin, went in this way about 15, 20 feet, didn't find anything, then they went this way, and that's the way we're going. All right. Happy guy? Okay, one of those short ones. Get up here.
Come on, Shawty. What's her name? Sophia.
Again.
She's great.
Now,
She'll head the.
we're going to talk a little bit about the people that worked in the mine, the miners. They all came from different countries, Ireland. Oh, well, that's how America was made back then. You came from a different country, started your new life here. The guys that came from Ireland and Wales and England, they've been mining in those countries a couple hundred years before they even came to America. And those are the guys that they were looking for. The guys who knew what they were doing, right? And they paid them a little bit more. Now, those folks brought some superstitions with them. One of them was called a Tommyknocker. Little green guy ran around, caused all kinds of problems. But the miners also believed Tommyknockers helped them. As you get further east towards New York, the ground is soft, so you have to put timbers to hold up the ceilings and walls so they don't cave in on you. And occasionally, miners will hear tapping along the timber, and they thought that was the Tommyknocker warning them something bad was going to happen. And if they didn't check that timber, about 50% of the time, that thing would cave in right there. Now, these guys also had these lunch boxes. So they would eat their lunch, save a little crust of bread, a little piece of meat, make a little pile here on the floor, and that was a tribute to the Tommyknockers. They would go home, come back, and the pile of food would be gone, but it wasn't Tommyknockers eating this, it was rats. Big rats. Now, if you guys see some rats come running out of here, heading towards the front door, always follow the rats. They have a great nose, they can smell the gas that you can't, and they know when there's going to be a cave-in or a flood or something, so always follow the rats.
Well, you're going to want to follow me because I'm going to be right on their tails. I'm first in line. First in line. Nobody push me out of the way. Ooh.
Well, sometimes when we do have rats running through here, they do like to stop and have a small snack on the way. All right. Let me show you something here. I've got this thing. It's the blacksmith made it. It's got a point, it's got a hook, it's got a candle. You take it, hook it to your hat, and all of a sudden you've got instant light, right? Now, the reason that the miners wore lights on their head and hats is because they had to carry in their tool. And you can't work with a lantern in your hand, right? Okay, now we're going to pretend we're going to start a new tunnel right here. So I'll take my Tommy sticker and my imaginary hammer and pound it into the wall here. Good. Take my...
You're supposed to be behind me.
Right. Now, everybody, if you would, just turn your lights off. All lights off.
Lights off, everyone. Off.
Now, behind your eyes, you have purple rods. Purple rods help you see in the dark. The miners, they went to work before the sun came up and went home after the sun went down. So their purple rods, their eyes were really good in the dark. This little bit of light right here was like daylight to them. Now what we'll do is we'll drill a nice 9-hole pattern here. We want 9 holes because we want the entrance nice and big so the ore cars can swing in and out with no problem. We're going to drill the holes probably about a little over 2 feet deep, and then we take a wooden rod with a spoon on it and drag out all the dust and stuff. And we take dynamite and fuses and blasting caps and we tap that into the back of the hole. We run the fuses out here. Now, here in Calico, we use a system, a bell system. We will ring a bell, say 3 times to alert everybody that we're going to do some blasting. We'll do that several times. When we're sure everybody knows, then one guy comes in here, lights the fuses, and runs back out. All right. You guys can turn your lights back on now. Okay. Cold spots. I'm going to tell you guys about cold spot. You're going to be walking through the mine tonight. Maybe you will walk into a ghost or a spirit will walk into you. If you think that's happened, maybe the hairs will raise up on the back of your neck or your arm. If you think that happened, just reach out and see if you can feel a cold spot. It'll be like putting your hand in a refrigerator or a freezer. If that happens, just whip your camera up real quick and say, I'm taking a picture. And when you hear that, guys, don't look over there because you'll get flashed out.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do but walk through it, unless, of course, it's during the summer, then you can just sit there and go.
All right, here we go.
Tell Jay. He's the only one with a camera.
Can I go back?
Come here, ladies. I'm going to put you right here. Come here, sweetie. Right there. Right there. Come here, partner. I'm going to put you over here. That's good. That's good. Just move in, everybody. Oh, light. Gotta shine it down, partner. Okay. Now, right here, I've got a chute that goes up to a level above us. We also have a level below our feet as well. Now, in order to get the ore from the top level down here, a man would push his empty cart here, a car, and there would be like a cowbell of some sort, and he would ring that and alert the guy up there that he's ready to receive the ore. He would pour the full car down here, fill up this ore car, and out it would go. They'd hook it to a donkey or a mule or something. Now, remember me telling you about the miners, right? After they left the mine, they went to Calico. Calico had 22 saloons and gambling houses around here. So they did a little drinking, probably too much drinking. And they would come back a little drunk, a little hungover. And instead of eating, they would crawl up these chutes sometimes and sleep. And supposedly a friend of their partner was supposed to come wake them up before the start of the shift. Now, it didn't happen in this mine, but the big Silver King mine had lots of these chutes, lots of guys sleeping during their lunch period. And every once in a great while, somebody wouldn't get woken up. They would pour the ore on top of them and kill them. Yeah. So remember, young lady, no drinking whiskey before you come in this mine. All right, here we go. Let's head this way.
Need a light? There you go. Deadman Strip.
Okay. Now, crowd up here. Don't fall in. Now everybody's going to see this. I promise you, if you guys would just crowd up here. Always point your flashlights down, guys, so you don't blind everybody in front of you. Okay. Now, from the top of the ceiling to the bottom of the floor is 52 feet. You're going to notice when you look in here that they did all the blasting around the sides and the ceilings and brought the ore straight down. Now, the miners were so scared that this place was going to come caving down on them at some point that they nicknamed this place Deadman Strip. But it never did happen that way. You'll also notice in here that there's pipes. Every mining operation uses pipes. We used tin pipes in the early days, except our water is so terrible. It ate through the tin pipes in about a month or two. So we had our pipes made out of oak. These are oak pipes, 130 years old. If you were to use them today, they would probably still work just fine. I've got a mine shaft that goes all the way to the outside, but we filled that in so people wouldn't come in here at night and get in trouble. Okay, now if you guys want to take some photos, you sure can. And then move back there where Patty's at.
Holding on to you, don't you?
Sorry.
Whoa.
Let me get through so you guys set up.
I know.
You know what, Jake, get a picture of the thing with the sign.
There's an orb.
There's an orb? You get an orb? Yeah, really. Oh, it's really foggy. There's probably a little while. Spirits there, see, because it's not supposed to be foggy.
It is cold right there. It's supposed to be pretty outside.
More outside stuff.
Nothing in it but ghosts.
Perfect.
That's what we want to see.
See? compared to what yours was.
Yeah,
See, I just see there's some stuff by its dust.
Yeah, the dust in there looks like snow, but the orbs are perfectly round. And then we have the zigzaggers, which are the streak of orb that moves. And it just moves too fast for being a bug or any of that stuff, because, like I said, it has to be there.
No, I was.
It costs like 3 times the amount of money to get the silver out of the mines now than it did. It's what it's worth. But there's a lot of silver still in these mines. How we doing, LT? Still talking.
Show her a picture.
Woohoo!
oh, you got one?
I got a picture for you. Do you know my first time up here? My first time up here was on May the 12th, 1973.
No way.
Yep. Do you know what happened on May the 12th, 1973?
Is that when they put the thing in the ground?
It's the California Registered Historical Landmark.
Oh,
May the 12th,
there it is.
1973.
73, that's
I took this
cool.
yesterday, but I was here that day.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
That was before you came here?
Oh, I've been here since 06, 2006.
Okay, 2000.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
6 years old. I didn't.
I'm just a baby.
I started coming here a long, long time ago.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay.
Do we have everybody? We can scoot up a little bit. Everybody can scoot up a wee bit. You don't have to be scrunched all back there. You can stay right back there. Just don't go too far. Okay. Okay. Come on up this way. Okay, we got pretty much everybody there. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I came down this way after the tours were all over. This was quite a few years back. And I was picking up the little candles and lanterns. And LT was in the other tunnel that we'll be going to here in a short. And I heard some noise back there by the gate that you all were at. And I peeked back there, and the lights in the back were different than they are now. They were dimmer when all the lights come on during the day. And so I looked back there, and I saw the whole bottom of that gate, from the ground up about 2 feet, was completely blackened. Then I could see behind it with the little bit of light. And I thought, what in the world is that? So I started, silly me, started walking towards it, and then it moved. And oh boy, I got scared. And I look, I says, who's back there? I said, is somebody hurt? Are you doing okay? And you could see it was like, I don't know if you can see my hand, but it was like the front part of it just kind of went like this and looked at me, and then it went back, and I thought, uh-oh, I got myself a dog or something back here. So I started talking real nice, sweet. It's okay, puppy, you just be right there, I'll be right. And then I went and got LT, and I came back, and of course he was gone. But we have heard toenails on the cement up and down the mine. We have heard dogs barking in this area. I've had experiences in the other tunnel of a dog coming running full force towards me, panting, and then stopped and sat right beside me going, oh, well, I didn't stay beside him very long. I went and hid behind LT, but that's beside the point. We do have women's voices in this area. Now, that's really strange because women were not allowed in the mine for obvious reasons, but mainly because it was bad luck. They're superstitious. And I think they were just distracting. Redheaded women fascinated the men. And so whenever they saw a redheaded woman, it was like everybody stopped and looked. It was really something. But yeah, there was no women, but we hear a lot of women's voices in here. Not only me, the guest. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to walk on a little bit. I wanted to show you guys as you walk by here. This is just what I call it. This is the couch And right over here is a table or a chair. Okay, I'm just kidding, but it looks pretty good, don't it? Everybody look as you walk by on the right side.
Left side.
Yeah, that way too. Oh, okay. Okay, now look, right in here is where like the LT cents, the men would sit and they'd have their lunch back and forth. So in here there's a lot of orbs and a lot of movement and cold stuff.
Sophia.
Yeah. Now we're gonna wait up here for LT because he still likes to be the line leader since elementary school. You can just line up just line up over here now, children. Over this way. We're gonna go down this. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to blind you there.
Dark hole?
Down this dark hole right here. Yes, sir.
Okay, right over there at the Prospect Home, we were doing a tour one night. There was a young man, 13, 14 years old, started screaming, and he said, something's pinching my arm. So we held the light on his arm, and sure enough, there was a little red welt that was getting bigger and bigger, and people were freaking out. He thought he'd been bitten by a scorpion or a big spider, so everybody was looking around, and all of a sudden he stopped and said, you know what, it's not pinching me anymore. And we watched that welt get smaller and smaller until it almost disappeared. Now, we do get a lot of touching in here, okay, from time to time, like I mentioned.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, you guys just bang it out, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You find it in the wall. There you go. All right. We had a blind lady with us one night. She was legally blind.
How's your
Had to
flashlight, sir?
hang on to her her granddaughter on the way up. And she kept saying, stop it, leave me alone, don't touch me. I guess the spirits knew something was up with this young lady, so they were trying to get a closer look. And then I got her down to the end of the tunnel here, and something pushed on her, and she fell down. So I picked her up, and Patty brought her back up here.
Well, when she came up here, she said nobody was around her. She didn't know what pushed her. Well, I was looking at her knees and her elbows, everything, making sure that she was okay for an accident report that I was gonna fill out. And she just said, stop, please stop. And I'm standing about where LT is, but up this way a little bit. She's standing here. And she goes, I need you to help me pass this spirit through to the light. Oh, I said, I don't know how to do that. And she says, oh, but you've got to help me. I said, how about you do it and I'll hold your arm. She says, okay. And so she has her arms crossed and she's real quiet. Everybody got dead silence. And she's just standing there. All of a sudden she came up real slowly and said, he's ready. And she looked down this way, and her granddaughter came flying. I mean, she was full force coming running out of there, screaming at the top of her lungs, it's after me, Grandma, it's after me. She came over here, the grandma got her stuff behind her. She says, it's okay, he's going to the light. And I'm sitting here going, whoa, and it was just like a train or something. It just went whoosh, and it went down there to the doors and disappeared. She's standing there and she says, it's gone, baby, it's gone. And I looked at her, I said, are you sure it's gone? She says, yes, it's all gone. He went to the light. And I just went, yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I've never seen anything like that in my life, but that's me. I get all excited. Do you know, for the rest of the time here on our tour, she did not have anybody bothering her. Nothing. Wow. So it worked. That's cool. LT?
Did Patty tell you about the dogs?
Yes.
Let me tell you this story. I was having a nightmare the other night, and this dog, huge dog, was chasing me. And no matter how fast I ran, I knew he was just going to leap up and grab me by the neck and kill me, right? And everybody has one of these dreams once in a while. And all of a sudden, the dog leaped through the air to get me, and I woke up in bed. I was panting and sweating. So I got out of bed, went to the bathroom, and started splashing water on my face. And then I noticed it. Here, shine your light right here on my neck. Check this out.
She's like, oh my God.
We do that for the Boy Scouts because the Boy Scouts get so scared that they all start crying. And so we do that for them.
We are going through the line right now. Remember I told you about the colors in the rocks, the metals and stuff? We're going to see them now. So here we go.
The Boy Scouts were here last weekend, weren't they?
Yes, I've seen them this weekend.
Please, nobody test me this.
This is all mostly iron ore. The yellow and orange part is where it actually had gotten wet and rusted. That's rust right there.
Wow.
Sorry, baby.
Most of the rock color is natural color, or none of it, not much of it's been altered due to public.
You can touch it.
I mean,
It's not like a
it hasn't been
stalagmite
painted
or cavern or
it's all
anything.
natural
that you
coating,
can-
natural color.
All right, guys, come in. I need all the short people up front, tall guys in the back. All right, so see.
No Sophia.
Now, everybody crowd on in here. I've got a couple fellers in red underwear here. They represent the Mulcahy's. The Mulcahy's was a mining family that lived in Nevada. Maurice Mulcahy Sr. was a superintendent of a big mine there. One day he took his eldest son John in. He was about 16 at the time. They were down in some of the lower levels and the father slipped, fell down a shaft 125 feet, and by the time that they got him out into the surface, he had died. Now, Elizabeth, the mother, she gathered her 7 kids, and they all moved here to Calico and to Daggett, just down the road here. If you're wondering what they're doing in here, they lived in here, actually. They bought up some of the old mines here that weren't being used, like this one. The Mulcahy brothers did, and they renamed this the Maggie after an old Irish love song. Now, it's always cooler. Well, it's always the same temperature, right around 68, 72 degrees in the mine year round. Now, in the wintertime, if it's a little cooler, they had a potbelly stove. They'd heat the place up with a little bit of wood. All right, now on this side,
Do his thumb back, his thumb.
all right, on this side, I got a guy with an ore cart again. The way the story goes, there was a young man, after the Mulcahy brothers left, found some silver on top of the mountain, showed it to his dad. They reclaimed this one spot, dug down, and found $65,000 worth of silver. And the Mulcahy's missed it by 6 feet. If they had put their house on this side, they might have found all that silver.
Words right out of my mouth. So, if you notice, right here in front, there is a ladder. You see it going up there to the top? Well, there's part coming from here to up there, and then from there up there. Now, right over here to the right, there is a wooden platform like. Well, it's actually a room. And that was the only entrance that I know of into the tunnel above us. And hey, somebody's got a good light. Yeah. Is that yours?
Yes.
Man, that's pretty awesome. And this here is the chute where they roll the rocks down. It goes into that barrel there, and they whisk it up there to the top with a little pulley system. Empty it out when it's down. Well, while it's up there, they can fill this little ore cart over here to your left, and they take that out the front door. Now we had, remember I told you that we had people that after their day at work, they have to come back in to make sure that there's nobody in here, the workers. Well, we had one girl that came back here and she was checking the lock on the door right behind the gentleman in the white hoodie. And she was standing here. She says that she felt wind and it was coming towards her and it hit her shoulder right here and it just spun her around and she looked and there wasn't a soul in there. And she did not believe in spirits until then. I could hear her mom was standing right in front of me down the road and you could hear her on the phone, Mom, I ain't never going in that mine again. No way, you don't know what I saw, Mom. It was the funniest thing. I mean, it was serious. But yeah, it sure did. It hit her right on the shoulder and just spun her around. LT?
Okay, like Patty was telling you, they do the self-guided tours here in the day, lots of lights in here, things to see. There was a mother and daughter. The daughter was 6 years old. They were from Europe, and they got about this far, and the little girl started screaming, and she turned around and ran back out the front door. And they were trying to calm her down, and they said, what happened? And the mother says, well, my daughter sees dead people, and she saw a man standing here. Well, about 3 months later, another mother and daughter from California came through, saw the same guy, and they turned around and walked out as well. Now, we're going to take lots of pictures on the way out, and usually when we take pictures here, we sometimes get a shape or something standing right here. So hopefully that will happen tonight. All right, everybody, we are heading into the mine.
There you go.
Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. Oh, isn't that's so, we gotta believe. Is that Heckler.
Okay, everybody, if you want to go up to the gate, there's a somewhere in there, that's Big John, you can take pictures. There's also a bird cage in there.
Mary,
Yeah.
I know about them.
Take pictures of Big John. Sometimes you get a red orb on his chest right over his heart. The reason they had bird cages in the mine is you'd hit a pocket of natural gas, you couldn't smell it, and that would kill you. So they would watch the birds, and if the birds fell off the perches, it was time to get out of the mine and buy a new bird.
Yeah. Because their lungs were just itty little lungs, and so when they got filled up, they and then they died.
And if you look up here at the top, there's some cracks that go across the ceiling here. These are reverse faults. Some of the rock is moving up and some of the rock is moving down. Everything underground moves in California. All right.
And then we have
Have you had any issues with?
All right.
Have we had any issues with movement? Not that we can see.
We are heading this way. Okay, we're going to crowd everybody in here if we can. As many people as we can. Merry Christmas. Okay, yeah, crowd up here, everybody. This is where the original mine ended. When Walter Knott and his partner came through, there was a little ladder and a hole that went out. So they went ahead and drilled and dynamited all this out and put in stairs. Now we have an exit. We also have a big fan that recirculates the air. Okay? Now, that's during the day. We had a mother and daughter here. The daughter was about 21 years old, and she told me this story. The fan was making an awful noise, so the mother came up and put her hand on top of the fan. Then she turned around to talk to her daughter for a moment, and when they turned back, right there on top of the fan where her handprint was a rock on top, jiggling back and forth. Boy, they saw that and headed straight out. Now, we have gotten great pictures up and down the stairs. In fact, one night there was a young man here, 8, 9 years old. He was shaking. Tears were coming out of his eyes. And the tour guy said, "What's the matter, partner?" He says, "Well, right up here on these 2 steps, there's 3 fellas standing up there giving me the evil eye." And about that time, everybody took out cameras and started taking pictures. And then he stopped shaking, and the tears stopped coming out. And he said, "They're gone." So we have gotten great pictures up here. One night, there was a man took a picture, and right up at the top corner on the right was this little green gnome, I guess. I'm not sure what it was. It was the coolest picture. And you can see all these pictures on our website, CalicoGhostTour.com. I'm going to get out of the way. If you guys want to take pictures, you're going to come right up to the stairs here and take some pictures. If not, head back towards Patty.
Thank you.
I need somebody else to take the camera.
Who wants to take a
Who
picture?
wants to take some pictures?
You guys are going to need flashes.
I'll do it,
Okay, you guys that have cameras, you want to take pictures in the back in the empty tunnels. And the guys with no cameras, you're going to be right in the middle. Who has cameras? Who wants to take pictures? Now don't stop, guys. Just click your pictures and go. Yeah. You guys have cameras? You guys with cameras, you're going to take pictures of the empty tunnels behind us.
Oh, yeah.
You guys with cameras, take pictures of the empty tunnels behind us.
Yeah, I've got like 0 to what
Yeah, you guys stay behind us, take some pictures. Turn around and take pictures.
Now, can you do that with the video running?
Okay.
If the flash is on, yeah.
Okay, partner, you have a camera?
Turn on the flash.
Okay, then you're gonna come up here in the middle,
Turn around.
and like the people with the cameras in the right. There you
Can we move on your ghost pictures?
Yeah, for a second.
go.
The
It
camera
doesn't
button?
even look like you have the film on. Ooh, I saw something.
Just take a picture, keep moving up, you guys.
A lot of dust. You can see it.
That's true.
You can see it in. Hey. I'll have to look and
Oh. I don't have a flash on, but. Take a picture.
oh, yeah.
Flatten.
Sorry.
Flatten against the wall.
One like an Egyptian.
Take one down.
They're like, I saw a big shadow. That was just my butt. Plus there's a little lantern right there. Just looks spooky like that.
Okay. Pictures in front of you. Right. Just click and go.
Good.
I was feeling a little nauseous by the glory hole. I think I was sometimes, I did
You
down
guys take pictures behind us.
or down here the other day and I was getting feeling funny.
That's weird. Twice now you've said that.
Yeah. Like my stomach feels a little blue.
Alright, I'm coming behind you.
Okay, and then scan here and then take a picture back that way. Okay, guys, you're gonna catch up with the group and take a picture of the tunnel again.
Ooh,
What happened?
I saw something jet across the picture right as I took it.
Ooh. Hopefully that'll show up.
Here we go.
Bye, boys. See you next time.
You guys ever get anybody like bring it like with tape recorders? Ever get any EVP out of here?
Get the ghost hunters in here. We got a group coming in tonight.
Oh, really?
They like to come about midnight.
Oh, okay.
Stay a couple hours.
I thought you would go.
All right, Patty, let's go.
See, might be worth looking into.
So like I said, they're crazy. When we talked to them, they said they were big groups with like big cameras.
Yeah.
Go, Patty, go. We're waiting on you.
I had so many black lights when I was younger.
So many bodies. I like took off my hat and stuff. I was getting hot.
Well, my friends had black lights in his bedroom. That was his only light.
Feel my hurt.
Black light paint and stuff.
Yep. Posters and
Big bad back there.
Last picture.
Okay. If you come around this way, here, you can go up that way. I just want to show you this here. Come over this way. Now what happens here is, okay, the ore comes here. And then they can put the ore in this little grinder here that breaks it up. Or they can put it in here. Watch your ears, this is pretty loud. Yeah. Watch down there. Oh. Now that, see how it comes up? And when it goes up, it smashes the dirt or the ore. And this here, and there's two of these guys. You might know what these are. They're from a Model T Ford. And they hooked them together with bolts, and they stuck it up here, and it lifts. See right here? It grabs it.
Okay.
And it lifts that off, and then when it goes in, boom, it slides it off.
That is a one-man operation. Now, the big stamp mills we had here in Calico, the stamps were 2 feet high, foot across, two of them next to each other going up and down. They would grind the ore into gravel, and they would scoop it up, put it in large metal containers. In the early day, they poured cyanide and mercury on top, and that would extract the silver. But that stuff was dangerous. It was getting people sick, getting into our groundwater. So they canceled that out, built furnaces, heated up the furnaces to around 2,000 degrees, and that would also extract the silver. They would take and pour big bars and send everything to the San Francisco Mint. And there they would melt the bars down, refine that to 99.9%, and pour coins. So if you find a coin dated 1882 to 1892, and it has an S on it for the San Francisco Mint, there's a 99% chance that that silver right there came from Calico. So keep it.
And if you do not know what to do with it, and you just don't want it, or it's nothing, you can bring it to me. I'll take care of it for you. I promise I'll take good care. I'll get it where it belongs.
All right, buddy, push a button.
Oh.
Any button you feel like. Yeah, I don't have a rock in my hand. You're good.
Lead balls. That's also a grinder. Everybody come this way.
All right, we're all heading outside.
Oh, we passed the wrong one. And when you get outside, just kind of lean up against or sit on the benches, guys. Let the ladies and the kids sit on the bench. We have a neato story to tell you.
Yeah, girls sit down on the bench. That's why we got that. Anybody needs to sit down. All right, everybody always asks me, how do we get the name Calico? And I'm going to tell you that little secret right now. Back in the day, they were mining in the big Silver King mine behind us. There was a loud screech and howl that echoed throughout the entire mine. Well, the men were superstitious. They thought the place was haunted, so out they came, except for one guy who was about this tall, this wide, wasn't scared of anything. He wanted to know what that sound was, so he picked up two big picks, walked back in, began to pick and chisel and head towards that sound. And the closer he got, the louder it became. Finally, he broke through, and out through the hole came 1,000 calico cats. They attacked him, killed him, and ate him.
And ate him!
No, that's not true.
No, it's not. Not true. That's just
Actually, in 1882, we hadn't had a name for this place. A lady came to visit. She had this beautiful dress on. The print and fabric came from India. It was called the Calico print. Had the same colors as our big red mountains, the reds, the blacks, the greens, the gold. The miners were so taken back with this dress that they went to a saloon and voted that they were going to name this place Calico after that pretty gal's dress. And that is a true story, although I do like the cat story a little bit better.
Now we're going to go down to the Chinese ruins a little bit more, and then we're going to take
talk
off.
about some Chinese people.
Everybody follow LP, the line leader, you know. Yep, that sure is. That's a little in the distance there.
Everybody, if you just pile up against rails here, anywhere you want. Everybody just pile up against the rails. Now, there was about 150 or so men, women, and children that lived down here, Chinese people. They weren't allowed to live with other people along the street, so they had to live back here amongst themselves. This was Chinatown. Now, they did all right for themselves. They weren't allowed to work in the mines or anything like that, but they sold their wares and things like that. In fact, they had a Chinese restaurant here, which was pretty good from what I understand. And they did the Chinese laundry. Also, they cooked for the big mining companies, so that helped out as well. People come here late at night often and see a man standing right over here by this light pole. He has long hair. The Chinese men and boys at that time kept their hair long, didn't cut it, and tied it up on a knot on top of their head. And people have told me that they thought that that could be a Chinese man standing there.
Yes. Over here, LT shine on that, on the wall there. I saw a young man sitting up there. Now this was probably about 10:30 at night, so I just saw, the shadow of him. And I looked. It took a second to focus in on him, but right down beside him, there was another young boy standing there. And I looked, of course, the thing you say is everything okay? It's pretty late at night. You're not supposed to be in the town. And they both, you could see, they turned their head and looked at me, just like he did. Look, that's what the shadow looked like. And he turned around and looked at me, and they disappeared. Well, they looked like Indians. Now, I did some research, LT and I, and we did find out that there were Indians in this area. LT?
Yeah, about 50,000 years ago, there was ancient man lived in this area. The Mojave was not a desert. There was palm trees, pinyon trees, giant lakes, good hunting, good fishing. This was the place to be 50,000 years ago. You had to sidestep a few saber-toothed tigers, but other than that, this was the place to be. And then about the time that the Spanish was coming through California, the lakes dried up, the river started to run, and this whole area turned into a desert. The people that lived here broke up into two groups. One called themselves the Mojaves, the other called themselves Paiutes. Indian groups.
See, they're both Indian tribes, so there were Indians in this area. And the Paiutes, I did read a lot of things the Paiutes had in this area back in the 1800s. So lots of paperwork on them. Yeah, everybody follow LT. We're going to go over to the Chinese rooms and the Chinese rooms and on our way back down the mountain.
Okay, you guys look over here. This is not a Chinese bathtub. That is a scalding pot. They would put a fire under there, heat it up, put water, clothes, and soap in there, use a big paddle to stir it. That's how they did the Chinese laundry thing. Now, the Chinese people, when they came to a place like Calico, everything that they owned was on their wagon, including their family. After they'd been in a place a while, they would have another child or gather more things. And on the way out, when they were leaving, they just didn't have enough room for everything. So they started pushing off these big pots and pans and stuff. Maybe grandma off the back. No, I'm just kidding. But, yeah, that's this way. Off to the left is the original courthouse. That is the Lane house. That's where Lucy Lane and John Lane lived until they died. Across the street is their general store.
Make it even more spookier.
If anybody needs to use the restroom, it's right there to the left. Across the street from that is that big red wooden wagon I told you about. 250 gallons. Water had to be brought up many times a day.
Now, which building was the original one that was here? Down with
What's that?
The next one.
which building was the original one that was down? Original building.
No, I got soda out in the car though. Alright, I think I'll go. And welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glenn Clark, and you've been listening to the Calico Ghost Town Ghost Tours, and that was the Maggie Mine tour that we took on January 26th. I hope you also enjoyed all the stories that were told, and also our tour guide LT, who scared the bejesus out of a little girl during one of those stories, which we all got a laugh out of it, but we did feel bad for the little girl because she almost cried in that one. Also during that recording, we picked up something that I know myself I didn't say, and nobody else around our group said. It was when he was talking about Tommy knockers, and we were moving forward in the tour. There was a voice on the recording that said hello, and it sounds like me, but I don't remember saying that. And if you listen to the recording closely, when you hear me talk, I had the recorder in like my front pocket in a jacket, so every time I talked it sounded real close, and this sounded kind of far away. So neither one of us can explain, so just part of the recording that I thought was interesting. So take a close listen to that, and if you'd like to comment, you can comment in the comment section below. As always, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Again, we have the Patreon account for members-only content, and later tonight we're going to be doing a live EVP session, Spirit Box session. I've put many different apps on two old cell phones that I'm not using anymore except for stuff like this. So I want to try out some of the new apps that I've found, and if you have any suggestions for ghost hunting apps, some that would be really good, you can comment, let me know those as well, or also send it to my email. That's at storiesofthedark1@gmail.com. That's storiesofthedark1@gmail.com. And as I said, we have members-only content on my Patreon account. That's at patreon.com/storiesofthedark. Also at Buy Me a Coffee. That's buymeacoffee.com/storiesofthedark. And right now I'm going to go ahead and bring you the schoolhouse tour. That was interesting in that we got to actually go inside the old schoolhouse there at Calico Ghost Town and sit in the desks, and we were given chalkboards to, we wrote down just like a little math problem thing, and our tour guide Patty tried to act like a school teacher, and she did a very good job, and also shared a couple of good stories, so I hope you enjoy those. I'll come back after this and we'll wrap up the program. I'm Glen Clark. This is Stories of the Dark.
The wife. Of course.
Okay, go ahead, LT. Okay, you guys sit down on the stage there. They saved you some room there, girls, to sit down. Gentlemen are being very gentlemen. Right here in this area, we had a candy shop and a ladies' millinery shop, a sewing shop, and the mothers that lived out here, they would bring their kids in, give them a few pennies, and they would go next door to the candy shop while they went in and shopped for their sewing needs and things like that. Well, that worked out real well. In fact, the lady that ran that, her name was Mrs. Elliott, and everything worked out pretty good. In the late 1880s, we did have a typhoid epidemic up here. They killed around 22 kids that lived up here, and they are buried in our cemetery over here. Now, on quiet afternoons and evenings, people often hear children playing under this big tree over here, and they'll look, and there won't be anybody there. So when we walk by, take a picture of the tree and underneath it. Also, today, the owner of the candle shop was telling me that they came in, and we have a spirit that runs around in that area also that causes a little havoc inside the store. And that spirit was causing some havoc inside the candle shop today. So, yeah, take a few pictures as we pass by.
Okay, one more thing. When you take pictures, have your sound, I don't know if we said this, turn the sound down on your telephone so that it vibrates or it's just a real low tone. Take a lot of pictures, and if you're going to use a flash, just make sure you tell everybody so it doesn't flash their eyes because it gets dark out this way. And we're all going to stay together in a little group, so safety reasons. Okie dokie? Okay. Okay. From the Little Rascals. Okay. Bruce Lee was on the Little Rascals, wasn't he? No, that was Beretta. Does anybody remember the detective named Beretta? No. The TV show named Beretta. Hi, baby, are you going to follow us? That's the pass. Good. Pass. Pass. Okay, we need to keep moving, please. She'll help us watch for good. Gathering the legend in the long shop, making
Just the start. So pretty.
And
Oh, I know.
another worker in there saw her twice. And then there's also a nursing.
What?
Which one's the rock shop?
Right beside you here.
Oh, the floating head, because they said that, you know,
Of course, I didn't see the floating head.
walkway covered it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's probably you can only see the head.
Shall I say? Harley.
He's the one with bad name.
We gotta stay together now in the group. Gotta wait for us or I tell
He's racing ahead.
Yeah, they're already parked there
Come around
ready.
here, everybody. I'm going to show you the schoolhouse from a different perspective here. Two doors, two stairs. It's even got a bell tower. They would ring the bell in the morning. The kids would come running. All right. Now, that schoolhouse, like I said, ours was built in 1885. When Walter Knott came out here in the early 50s, our schoolhouse was in such disrepair that they couldn't rebuild it. So he bought one just exactly like it in Middle America, I think Indiana, and pieced it out in 3 pieces, put it on a train, shipped it out here, and he put it on the same exact foundation. And when you go inside, you're going to see pictures of the original schoolhouse. It looks exactly like that one.
At Knott's?
Now you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought.
Walter Knott built this place.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Those that were on the mine tour, remember us talking about the wheels on the 20 mule team?
Right.
Right behind you. Those are how big they were.
That thing's on sensor.
Yeah, the 20 mule team, we even had pictures of them at the top of the hill. The mules are standing in the
Now,
the
I
road.
think tonight sometime, I feel it, that we're going to see some ghosts, so everybody keep their eyes open tonight.
There's a ghost! 2 of them! Hey, now you can't say you didn't see a ghost on this tour tonight. And do you even found out about the little phrase that a bug says? Yes.
Booby.
Booby! What about them teachers waking up those kids?
Kidnappers, man. Stop the kidnapping.
Stop that kidnapping.
Nobody back here. Anybody in there?
And where? Oh, that outhouse. Oh, no, that one. That's where LT works tomorrow. And this is where I work tomorrow at the dog shop. Everybody come see me. Got lots of good doggy stuff, treats right there at the dog
right now?
Right now, right now?
Close to me like right now.
Okay, everybody, come across the bridge.
I don't think we have enough that'll break it down to you.
look down here. They were doing a tour one night. The lady looked down and said, "There's a little girl down there. It looks like she's playing hopscotch." She was bending over, picking up a rock, throwing it, and hopping up. Well, nobody saw it but this lady. But they took pictures, and some of the pictures showed some orbs and some shapes down here. Now, Patty has seen that little girl all over Calico, Chinese ruins especially. Yeah, a lot of people seen this little girl playing hopscotch. Yeah, don't be afraid to take pictures. All right, here we go.
Where are we going? Here we go. Where are we going?
I guess this way.
Everybody right out here, we seem to get a lot of paranormal activity. Sometimes your phones, cameras will turn off for no reason. Always tell people just go someplace else in Calico, and about 90% of the time they turn right back on. All right.
Is our phone still there? No. We had a puddle there last week. Everybody watch, because there are rocks sticking up out of the ground here. We don't want you to trip on them. See, like there's one right there. Everybody stay to the left or go towards the right. No break.
Yeah.
Okay, gather around up here, everybody. Come on, gather up here. It won't bite you.
There you go. Everybody come up here. I'm gonna just don't go past me.
Okay. Schoolhouse. We were doing a tour in there about a couple months ago, and somebody saw a shadow figure, a man walk by those windows there. A lot of people saw it. And on that night, we had a security guard with us, so we called her. She came up and saw a man standing up against that corner. She went after him. They both went around the building, came out, and the man disappeared right in front, and she was just standing there like, what just happened?
I was the one who saw that shadow person. That's scary. Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody, you're going to watch this first step right here.
It's a Lulu. Get it? A
Okay.
Lulu. So when you get up here to the end of the bridge, you're going to stay there again to the left.
Yeah, don't
you're
fall
gonna
into the gully or we're going to leave you.
Right, because if you go to the right, you'll go in the gully. Right there is a pole.
Calico.
You're going to
Yeah,
stay between
really.
the pole and the building, and don't go past the pole. Okay,
Show them when
everybody,
you get
let's
up
go.
there. All right, guys, go ahead.
Left to the pole. Left to the pole. Watch those rocks right there. We've got several of them sticking up.
Yeah, be careful.
Thank you. Be careful. Use your cane. Okay, everybody, come on up this way. I'm going to tell you a story about this. They call this the Green House. This door right here, everybody come over this way a little bit. There's something happened last night. You can go over here by the building too if you'd like. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. During school time in the morning, the kids have a recess before school starts. And they all play right around here in the schoolhouse, and they all have to be very careful. And one day, one person decided they wanted to play hide and go seek. Well, now they have to pick out a seeker. And they all need to pick a seeker. It was the littlest girl. That way they wouldn't get found as much, and if they did, they could outrun her. So they picked the little girl, and she agreed, and she was told to stand right here at this pole. And supposed to count to 10. And then when she looked up, everybody was going to be hiding. She had to come find them. And so she said, okay. And so back then there was a lot of rocks and weeds and trees and stuff, so there was a lot of places to hide. So she starts counting. 1, 2, 3. Everybody was hiding. 7, 8, 9, 10. And she looked up. Oh my goodness, everybody was gone. She didn't really understand the rules. So she started yelling at him. Hey, everybody, I'm scared. Where'd you go? She says, I'm getting scared. And she was moving around looking at everybody, or looking for everybody. And she got closer and closer and closer. And she got too close to the edge. She slipped and fell all the way to the bottom. She hit her head on some rocks and screamed. That brought everybody out. And they all ran down there and they got her and picked her up, the teachers and everybody. And they ran her across the bridge over to her mama's. And her mama, out in the front yard, was sitting there just holding her baby, just crying. And her baby just slowly passed away right there in her arms. Well, after the funeral, the mama came back and sat right here at the table where the little girl was last seen. And she cried and she cried. And all the kids, they loved the little girl so much. And they all came around the mama and they were doing her hair and holding her hands and hugging her, trying to console her for day after day after day. Well, as time went on, just like all of us, the mama left the Maypole. She went back to her children and family. And the years come flying by, and we get to where we are today. And the groups that we've taken on our tours, I tell this story. Now, about 3 or 4 months ago, I think it was closer to 3.5 months, I was telling this story. And I got to crying so badly because I was touching it. And my foot was down there. That's why my foot's not there now. And I just started crying. I couldn't even stop. I couldn't tell the rest of the story. And then people in the group started saying they were feeling hugs and hands curled up in their hands. And a lot of people up through the year that we've had this tour says that they do feel little children close to them, just standing in between them. Now, this story is very, very old. And it's been told in so many ways, but as it all boils down to spirits, they just don't leave where they're familiar with. Now, we do have permission to be inside the schoolhouse, which is a privilege, I believe, because the schoolhouse is always locked. Now, San Bernardino gave us that permission, so if you would please respect all that you see in there and sit one to a seat. And we should have enough chairs inside there. Try not to take pictures during the time when I get to tell my ghost stories. If you need to, just tell me so I can at least smile. And then we'll have a little time afterwards, after class, for you to take pictures. Okie dokie? Okay. I'm going to turn my little light on. Everybody use your lights because the rocks are really, really bad up to the porch. Now, LT, I'll direct you up that way. So if you'd all move up towards the steps and go inside the schoolhouse, please.
Grab a seat.
Chill, walk the stairs, walk the step, grab a seat anywhere you want to sit. take the chocolate back.
How about I take the chocolate too? Okay. I'm gonna pass these out.
Chalkboards and chalk.
Chalkboard and chalks. I did this one time. I gotta tell you this. This is. See, I told you. You belong over there.
See that girl?
Bad little girl.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I had 4 people sitting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I had 2 people sitting here, a bunch of people else here over there, and I'm passing out chalkboards. Well, I got 6 of them, and I'm talking to everybody, and I hand 1 to this person, 1 to this person, 1 to this person. I handed 2 to these people, and I went to hand the 1 to the little boy here, and that little boy wasn't there. So where'd that little boy go? I got your little chalkboard right here. And the lady up here, she says, nobody was there. I said, yes, there was. I have his chalkboard right here. I only counted 6 people. That little boy wasn't there. Here, chalkboard. And that's the first time I saw that little boy. And he disappeared. I was so scared. I've seen him about 3 times since. Take one to pass. Ma'am? Just one. Sorry. If it's got a little chalk on it, which it probably does. Oh, you don't got no one. You can use the dentist chair if you want it. Oh, guess what I forgot to do?
Get chalk? Pass out the chalk?
Here, catch.
You take one.
You need 3 more.
Yeah.
Huh?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, here you go. Ready? Oh, man, I thought for sure he was going to catch that, you know.
Are we going to do spirit rating? Yeah.
I need you guys need to do that.
Automatic. Are we going to do
If you guys, while the light's on, you want to write these problems on your board. 7 goes into 91,
There you
and
go.
32,000 pounds equal how many tons?
Oh, wow.
No
And
idea.
then I'll ask for answers later.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry, I'm not doing really good tonight at all.
Nobody can see in the dark.
Everybody can see in the dark. It's white chalk. Here, watch. Tell me. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Oh, it's right there. You got yours.
These little nubs.
Oh, yeah, she got it, didn't she? Yeah. Now, that's the only fun we're going to have tonight. Okay. Here comes the lesson plan. When this gets open, everybody goes, shh. You guys didn't hear her, did you? Okay, we'll do it again.
Hands over the mouth.
Whenever I open my lesson plan, that means everybody's got to shh. Oh, you say it.
Turn the big light off.
I will. Let me hang up my coat on this make-believe coat rack. Imagination. Okay, here we go. I will turn that off, I promise, LT. It didn't go off.
Yep.
Can you see me?
No.
Can you see me? Is it, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Am I scary looking? I'm sorry, okay. It has to have been that so nice right now. Okay. LT came up here to be in charge of gun funds in 2006. He did it for about 4 years. Well, when he first came here, I stayed down in Tucson. That's where we both came from. And, he got to go with the ghost tour guide that was up here doing the ghost tours at the time. And I was in Tucson. So when I came up here, he says, Patty, I went around town with me down towards dusk. This is LT saying this. He says, I want to see how many spirits you see compared to what the tour guide saw. Well, I was about 65% right. That was pretty cool. I could see it, and I'd never been on this ghost tour. I heard anything about it. So that was pretty awesome. Since I was about 14, I've been seeing spirits, and it's so cool. They seek me out. They say I'm an old spirit, which is pretty cool. They just kind of hang around like you guys are right now, listening to me. Okay, so here's LT and I. We walk up to the bridge out here, and LT just walks across the bridge. And walks across the bridge. And I went to walk across the bridge behind him, and I took one step, and I froze. LT, there's something wrong. I can't move. And he says, come on, Patty. And it's a typical man. Come on, Patty. I said, no, you don't understand. It's like somebody's pushing on me. I don't know what's wrong, but I cannot get across the bridge. And he says, what's wrong? I said, somebody is stopping me. We have to leave because it is not going to happen tonight. So we left. And off and on during the next couple of days, I peeked over here. But then I came up here by myself, just right around the same time. LT wasn't with me. So I started walking across the bridge. I got across the bridge and I started walking, and halfway across that bridge, oh my goodness, my stomach just started aching, and the head, it felt like I was gonna fall down. And I said, no, this is not happening. So I trotted real quick to the other end where I started, and I stepped off. As soon as my foot hit the dirt, no pain, no dizziness, nothing. Well, now there's something up with this bridge, I'm telling myself. And I'm talking, okay, what's happening here? And at that moment, as I stand on the other side of the bridge, I saw a little girl. She was right here at the corner of the schoolhouse. She looked kind of like my coat right there. It was just a black figure. You could see it was a person. And she had her back towards me, standing up there. First thing I do is the motherly thing. Are you okay, sweetheart? You know you're not supposed to be here out to dark like this. You need to find Mom and Daddy and leave. She didn't turn around. And I said, sweetheart. And then I realized something was up. So I came across the bridge. Didn't even think about it because I was scared at the time for the little girl. Well, I got across the bridge. I stood there and went, heck up. And then I looked and I saw the little girl. And I walked towards her. And as I got closer to her, I started to see the ground behind her and the trees, and I knew that she wasn't real. And I looked at her and I said, you're a spirit. She still wouldn't turn around. I said, can I ask you, how did you die? She turned around, she walked straight over there to that gully. She pointed down to the bottom, she looked up at me, scared me a bit, boy, I was chilled everywhere. She looked at me and she says, I fell to the bottom, I hit my head. It's the last thing I remember. And then I was here. I said, sweetheart, is there anything I can do for you? She smiled real pretty, and her eyes started glowing, just a sparkle of gold. And she just kind of shook her head, turned around, and she walked and disappeared as she went to the darkness. Awesome thing I think I ever saw. I have not seen her as the shadow person, but I did see her off and on as a white shadow. She talks to me once in a while. A lot of the spirits talk to me, and she tells me about different things that happen. For instance, like she likes to sit out here on the steps, and several of the school kids do. And when the younger kids or teenagers, when they come and sit on the steps out there, they like to put their hand on the shoulder, not to scare them, just to kind of get that feeling that they're not alone, and they want people to know that they were here and that they still are. And I have a lot of children over these years that we've been here that have said There's also little girls that play out in the front here. People say when they walk up, they see the little girls playing with the little dresses on. And then when they walk up and crunch on the dirt, they just freeze, and then they run, lickety-split, right up the stairs and into this door. Well, the people come, the guests, they come and they look and they see that that door is locked. And it's locked. And then they come walking around and look inside, and they don't see anybody in there, but those little girls came in through that door. And they do see, they have got pictures of white shadows in here. They've got pictures of dark shadows. It is really amazing, the pictures that we've got. I got several of them. Now, there was a lady that was crossing the bridge one day, and after she was done, she came into the shop and told me this. She says that she saw something run underneath the bridge. She said she thought it was a dog. And then it came back out, and it was a little boy, with the shadow of a little boy. And it ran up the side of the gully and across the front of the schoolhouse here. She said she went lickety-split after it, and she didn't see him anywhere. Checked inside, checked the door was locked. She says she didn't have any idea what it was. She says, I didn't get a picture. She says, I wish I would have been faster. Okay, I'm going to turn my flashlight on, and I want everybody to look at the back of the schoolroom. See, there's a door there? The one we came. And over here is another door. That's two. The one in the middle was the school teacher's office. Our room, different things where there's supplies, the bell that she pulls. I got my finger, I'm just looking at it. I'm sorry. I would like to know, by raising your hand, if any of you know why there are two doors into this little bitty schoolhouse. Can you raise your hand? Does anybody know?
Take a guess.
Take a guess. Is there a hand raised? What's on the floor?
Chocolate chop.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you. Are you ready? That's the girls' side of the schoolhouse, the girls' door, and that's the boys' door side of the schoolhouse. The reason why they had that was because the little boys and little girls fought all the time. And so they're standing in line and they're pushing and shoving when girls are getting knocked down and guys are getting punched, all sorts of stuff. And so they had another door made so that they could have the boys just come filing in here, and over here was all the ornery. Yeah, I'm talking about over there on that side. That's where all the little ornery boys were. Over here was when the nicer boys, because they were sitting right by the girls, so they had to be nicer. And over here was the nice girls. I was pulling your leg. And over here was the really nice. Oh, wait a second. Kind of. And so that's how come they separated. Another thing is that they had a boy sitting behind a girl. I love this. If you look on the top right corner of your desk,
The inkwell.
Except for the baby desk, they didn't even divide it. This is an inkwell. That's where they put the little thing of ink. And then they had a piece of board or a stick or even a feather. And they dipped it in that, and then they could write on paper with the ink. It also was for girls that had long ponytails and long braids sitting here. They'd have a long braid, and the little guy behind would take the little braid and dip it in that little inkwell. Yeah, they loved to do that. So, they were separated. Well, there's something I didn't say to you. Well, the bridge, that's what I didn't say. I just found out that the bridge was not built at the same time the schoolhouse was. So that would tell me why they wouldn't let me go across the bridge is probably because the spirits didn't see and didn't have a bridge. So they thought I was was going to fall. And so that's why they stopped me from coming across the bridge. And I really truly believe that that's why they did it, because a lot of people say that they get upset tummies or they get lightheaded when they're trying to come across the bridge. And I think it's because of that. Now, we did have a mine tour. Some of you went on the mine tour tonight. Well, there was this lady, she was a psychic. She kept doing like little, in her mind was like little videos. And she was telling everybody on the mine tour. She says, it's really great. It seems, I see miners here, and they're like picking and looking at and then throwing it in there. She says, and I see some over here eating lunch. And she says, it's like a little video going on in the mine. Well, our tour guide asked if she would come to the schoolhouse, because the schoolhouse, we just got started at that time to do our ghost tours here. So we needed all the information that we could get. And so she agreed, and she came here to the schoolhouse. We had my boss and everybody was in here. And she came walking in this door here. And she stood right there at the door. And she looked over, and she says, oh my goodness, look at all those spirits against that wall over there. Yeah, I'm talking about you guys again. They're chairs. And there was so many spirits over there. She says, it's amazing. And right here, there's a little girl. The spirit of the little girl is sitting right here in this desk. Not yours. This desk right here. She says she is really, really upset. She keeps saying, this is my house. I want you to leave. She's really mad. But she didn't say anything else. She kept telling us over and over, the little girl saying, this is my house. I want you to leave. And then the little girl vanished. Oh, that scared me. It's a Well, then she's walking around this here lady, and she stops right here, and she says, something's happening here. She looked out this window. Sure enough, she says she saw two little boys out there, and they were rolling and punching each other and laughing real loud and listening, coming up here and listening to the window. And over here, she felt a presence here and a presence there. This was like a mama and perhaps maybe a teacher. She says she hears the word prank. We all know a prank is something that you honoriness that you play on somebody. She says, I'm not quite sure what it's all about, but those boys sure do look like they do. She says, well, they disappeared now. She says, and I don't feel much of anything in here now. She thanked us, we thanked her, and she left. Now we have taken everything that she has said, except for the squeaky floor. The floor needs oil. Everything that she says, we have added to our ghost tour. And that's pretty good if you ask me. Now, LT is going to tell you just a little awesome stories to let you know.
Okay, we have about 5 festivals around the year here. One of them is Halloween, and we're open up till 10 o'clock at night. And of course, the schoolhouse is all locked up. And one year there were some kids that came through, wanted to see inside. They were looking through the window, and they saw a white light moving across the floor here. Well, it kind of scared them, so they went back, got some adults. The adults came up here, they were looking through, they didn't see anything. Another one of our tours is the
Civil War.
Civil War, there you go, thank you. Civil War Festival, and that's coming up in February, middle of the month. Lots of cannons, lots of battles. The Confederates used to camp around this house, the schoolhouse, about 10 years ago, and the Union would camp down at the bottom of the town in the big empty lot. Well, one night they heard a noise, and of course, everybody ran to the window and looked through, and they saw that white light moving across the floor. And then it came up, touched the school blackboard here, and disappeared. Well, the adults, they thought somebody was playing a joke on them, so they went around, checked the windows, checked the doors. They were all locked, and they couldn't see anybody inside. Well, then that scared the kids, and the next morning, they broke camp and they moved across the bridge, and that's where they set up now, is across the bridge over there. This happened when I was here, probably about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. There was this lady, she had this little electric three-wheel scooter, and it was coming uptown. She was taking pictures, having a good old time, and she wanted to go to the schoolhouse. So she got about halfway across the bridge, and her scooter died. Went from full to zero just like that. Well, luckily for her, there were 3 big guys up here. They helped her off, picked up her scooter, took it back across the bridge and set it down. As soon as that happened, it went from zero to full again. She hopped back up on it and took off down the street. So, if you're ever walking in Calico or any place else and your phone or your camera dies, probably not the batteries, okay? Just move someplace else, it'll always come back on.
Especially in the mind. Yeah, everything to a camera happens in there. Batteries go out, flashes go out. It's really amazing in there what happens to cameras and telephones. But, you know, that's a scary one. Okay, a little bit about the school, the children, a little bit of history now. The schoolroom here held about 35 students, and they have anywhere from 25 to 35 kids here every day during the week. A lot of them were from the people that came here and moved, shop owners, and a few of them were from the miners. Now those children, the miners were really, really particular about their children. They wanted them to grow up to be something other than miners or just day workers. They really, really wanted them to learn. LT's going to show you a little math problem here a little bit later. It's a little funny, but it tells you kind of how the miners and the cowboys actually did math. They were pretty good kids. Their rules are about the same as they are now. You know, don't talk in class. You know, raise your hand. If you had to go outside, you had to have an escort. And, you know, just different things like that. We did have chores and stuff for the children to do after school. So it was pretty much like it is now that they did that. Now we did have teachers. Now our teacher down at the very first schoolhouse, which LT told you was down in the parking lot, her name was Ella Wagner. Now Ella, she was a young girl, and she was told that, you know, she had to, you know, pretty much stay single on her own, but she fell in love in 1883. Now in 1882 is when she started. Well, they decided that she was going to get married, and she was not going to pay as much attention to the children in the school. Now, schoolworm back then had to be complete attention. Everything in their life had to center around the children, within reason. And so if they were married, of course they had a family and so on and so forth, and they wouldn't pay attention to their children. So they said that they'd have to let her go when she got married. And sure enough, they started bringing in other single women, and they did make a law that says that you could not be married if you were a female. And these young ladies that were coming in, they were getting snapped up just like that from the miners, so they decided they were going to get a man to do it. So they brought in Mr. Hinks. Now he came here in April of 1884. And so he did a very good job from what I understand, and because he was a male, if he was married, then the wife took care of everything and he was the school teacher. Now if he wasn't, he would go have one night a week where he could court a woman, one night. And Sunday, of course, they could have Sunday school and Sunday off. But that's all they could do to court is one day. $70 to $110 was what these school teachers would make. And out of that, they had to take a little bit of money and they had to put it away for their old age so that they wouldn't be a burden on their family or on society. So they still had money after they retired. You know what that is now. So, we do have, they had some really weird rules for the teachers. No makeup, or female, not a male, these are females. No makeup, they couldn't color their hair, they couldn't do anything curly or fancy with it. If they rode in a cart, a buggy, wagon, with a man, that man had better be the father or the brother. If it was any other man, even a cousin, it was a potential husband, and they could lose their job at that second because they were messing around. They could not mess around in public. Men couldn't smoke cigars or drink. Teachers couldn't do that in public either. And it was really no bright colors. Always dark, or a white shirt and a dark dress. Now we did have these two, a British couple that came here one day. And the story, you want to tell that story, LT?
Cool.
Yeah, that's a good story. Go let me tell that.
Okay, there was a British couple here, having a good time. We get a lot of people from England here anyway, and they were taking pictures up and down the street. They came up to the schoolhouse, and they met this woman. She was dressed like Patty, like a school teacher, and she told them the history of the school and all about the kids and everything that went on here, and they just loved this lady. And so they were taking pictures of the schoolhouse, pictures of each other, and pictures of the school teacher. Well, they left, went back home, and they sent their pictures out to be processed. This was in the 70s, so if you had a camera, you had film in it. And when they got their pictures back, they were looking through, and they had pictures of Calico, pictures of each other, pictures of the schoolhouse, but no pictures of the school teacher. So they called down here at the office, and they said, on that day, did you have somebody dressed up as a school teacher here? And they said, no, we don't do that anymore. And she told them that her name was Margaret Olivier, and she was the last school teacher here in Calico. She died in 1936, and she's buried in our cemetery.
You can see the cemetery, well, maybe not at night, but if you're here in the day, it has a big white cross on it, and it's surrounded by a rock wall. And those are real people that are buried. They're buried inside that cemetery. Excuse me, I keep thinking I saw a light up here a few minutes ago, and I keep thinking of it. I'm sorry. LT right now is going to do this here. We would like you to write this down on your chalkboards.
If you haven't already done it.
If you haven't already done it, yeah. It's 7 goes into 91. And the other one is 32. 32,000 times, 32,000 pounds equals how many tons? Now, don't tell me yet. Okay, now LT's got the cutest little thing here. You gotta see it. Where would you like me to stand?
All right. How many people here like math? All right. Got a couple people. We'll keep it simple. How's that? We'll do something simple like 7 into 28. How's that? That's pretty simple. 4. All right. Now, all of you are in math class. Did they tell you the name of the division sign? Does anybody know the name of the division sign? No? Well, I'll write it up here for you. No problem. It's called the Gazenta sign because 7 Gazenta 28. Now you're with me. Stay with me now. 7 goes into 28 how many times? 4. Oh, well, if you guys were in my class, you'd be sitting in this dunce chair right here. Yeah, no, 7 does not go into 28 4 times. 7 goes into 28 13 times. Right? Oh, I can see that confused look on your face. Well, let's figure this out. I'll show you how this works. 7 does not go into 2, so forget about that 2 right now. But 7 does go into 8 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. Now, remember that 2 we couldn't use. We can use that now, so I'm going to bring that down here. 7 goes into 21. How many times? 3 times. 3 times 7 is 21. I got a big fat 0 there. 7 goes into 28 13 times, right?
You see it right there, black and
Right
white.
there, black and white. And I can tell that you all are a little confused about this style of math. But how do we check math? With math. Am I correct? So if I take 7 times 13, it'll equal 28, right? So let's do that. 7 times 13. Help me out here, guys. 7 times 3 is how much? 21. That is right. 7 times 1 is 7. Add them together. What do you got? 28. That's right, because 7 goes into 28 13 times. Now,
It gets better.
everybody's still a little confused, and I would be too, but we'll break this down to the very simplest math of all, and that's addition. So I'm going to take 13, write it up here 7 times, and we are all going to add this together, just to prove it to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, help me out here. 3, 6, 9,
Come on, everybody.
12,
15, 18,
21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
Yay!
And there it is. Because 7 goes into 28 13 times.
How about that?
Let's check this one out. 7 goes into 91 how many times? No. 7 goes into 28 13 times.
Okay, now do this one again.
I need to go back to 5.
Yes, that is right. 7 goes into 91 13 times.
13 times, y'all are right.
32,000 pounds equal how many tons?
16.
16 tons. What do you think? Another day going deeper in. How many of you are old enough to know that that is a song that they sang back in the old days? Who knows that song? Guess what your homework is going to be tonight? I want to know who sang that song.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Come on our Calico bookstores and the answer. That's your homework.
You guys, what we're going to do right now, if you guys would, well, Patty's going to show you some more stuff right here. Go ahead, Patty.
Yes. Now, I can do something. The children, I told you, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you asked a question. You were talking, okay.
I didn't want to be rude. He would have made what he's
Okay, what was I going to say? Oh, the children that came to this school was between 1st grade and 8th grade. The reason it was 8th grade was not because, they could just go to the high school or the junior high over here. There wasn't any. 8th grade was the last year that they had to go to school. They didn't have to go to school past the 8th grade. I know my dad, he went to Pennsylvania. He was at the school in Pennsylvania. And he went back there 30, 40 years later. And he found the old schoolhouse. And he went in there, and on the wall was the 8th grade graduation class, the last one. And my daddy was pictured in that picture. He was the 8th grade, one of the 8th graders that were on there. So of course we all got it and pictured, you know, the class and everything. It was pretty cool. But we didn't take that picture. We left it in the schoolhouse. It was pretty cool. But 8th grade, if you wanted to get more schooling, of course, you could go to the bigger cities. And they had more education that you could get up there. And it was pretty good. Now, I'm going to tell you, there was a test, a pretty serious test that they had to take to graduate from the 8th grade. 5-hour test. Now, they're supposed to have known all this up through the years. Now, I'm going to try to show you this without getting you blind. Can you see that test? It says, look back on the 8th grade in 1895. That is the test that they had to take. And they had to pass it to graduate. Now, I was told that if they didn't take that, or pass that, they had to come back the next year. And until they passed it. Now, LT, how many times did you have to come back and take that test?
I took that test 4 times. I kept getting stuck on 7 goes into 28.
13 times! One up here is my pretty favorite one. I think it's kind of neat. Now, a box, or a wagon box, that is like the bed of a truck now. The back of the truck. It was called the bed of a truck. Now, back then it was called a wagon box. Now, this first part says, it's under arithmetic. Number 2. A wagon box is 2 feet deep, 10 feet long, and 3 feet wide. Now, how many bushels of wheat do you think that'll hold? Yeah. I found out from a lady that each one of those bushels weigh about 32 pounds. Now, that's going to take a lot of math, but now you got to figure out how much they weigh, how big they are, and oh boy, that's going to take me longer than 5 hours to do. But that there is one of the questions I thought was pretty awesome. You can take a picture of that.
Back then, everybody knew what a bushel was. Today
we just don't know what a bushel is. A bushel is just, it's kind of
it's all wrapped up
with a piece of string around it, kind of like hay. And it was wheat. And they had out in the field, they had these little wheat things all over, you know, with a little thing around. You probably saw them on TV, like on the Aristocats, you know, you've seen a little, okay. Everybody's looking at me like, no, we haven't seen it before. Well, you'll be happy to know that that is the end of our class time today. Now, we are going to go, whoa, look at that book. We are going to go outside and we're going to get just a few more things. But now this is your time right now to get up, to move around, you're going to take pictures of any pictures that are on the wall. Now you can pass up your chalkboard to the front of the
Are you giving me?
LT's getting them.
There's some pictures back there of the schoolhouse. Everybody asked what that little board back there with the circles are on it, the 1, 2, 3, 4. The teacher did math problems with that.
Gosh.
She did math problems with that, or the kids outside would throw bean bags in it to add up to see who would win a prize. It's a pretty cool thing. She is, are you a perfectionist?
Good girl.
You got everybody? How did I miss some? What did I miss? You want your chalkboard now? I can't believe I forgot your chalkboard. You should have raised your hand.
Okay, guys, get up, take pictures. These are all original pictures.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm not a very good teacher.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a class picture as well, but since we have so many, I think we'll do that outside today.
Thank you, Larry. It's so hard.
figure it out. They can take pictures.
Even creepier is this thing. I don't know what it is.
Maybe this should hour. I was out there. It's a minute apart.
But that's why I was doing the same area.
Toe. I like Johnny Depp's.
Exactly, yeah. I did too.
Okay, guys, we're going to go out. And everybody is going to, we're going to take a picture right down at the bottom.
Everybody stay out right in front of the schoolhouse. Remember, there is a ditch out there, so they're not going to go out. Please.
Just every time I delete the notifications, they pop right back up.
Oh, yeah.
Not even for $1,000.
Like I was saying that for free. Oh, it's staying there for free.
Okay, let's get some people stand up here on the steps and everybody else to get in front, and we're going to take a picture. Oh, that's okay.
There we go.
Now this here's going to be a flash in your eye. You have glasses on, sometimes it touches.
Okay, so I'll take off my glasses.
So, you know, if you don't need glasses for a second,
I can't.
Pretty sure. I don't know.
I have to be able to see her in order to be able to see you.
So where are you guys? Oh, gotcha. I'm going to do another one just to make sure I get
Everybody say
everybody.
whiskey.
Everybody say whiskers. Think I got it.
Wait, what's going on?
Now, guys, you go to CalicoGhostTour.com and
No, I know.
tell them the day that you were on the tour in the schoolhouse tour, and they will send you this picture for free to your website.
Yep, this is a really nice picture. Okay. Yep. I don't see anything unusual in it. I think you're right. It is very one. Now you can go on CalicoGhostTour.com and you can get a copy of this. You just request it and you can get a copy of it. It's a really nice picture. Yeah. Now, right over here, you're going to see the house in the background here, so don't freak out, okay?
Okay, before they built, after they built the bridge here, guys, the boys would hide under the bridge, and when people would walk across, they would throw little stones at people. Now, when we walk across the bridge now, people often feel little stones hitting them in the feet as well, so we still get that. Okay, everybody watch out.
Remember,
Do not
there's
trip
a
over the big
lot
rocks.
of nasty little rocks there. When you get to the other side, stay there. Don't move on.
You got the number.
Yes. No, me, I put them.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, watch that last step there.
Let's go back this way. Maybe I should wait for him. The dog gets on my nerves.
Good. A+ for you, Lucy. I'm so proud of you.
You learned a lot tonight. 7 goes into 28. How many guys?
13.
That's right.
You know what else?
I think that's how I did most of my math too, and I never passed anything.
Hey guys, everybody, if you look across the way here, there's a cabin. Okay, all the miners that worked up in the Silver King mine, they camped in tents, most of them in the canyon. Now, 1 or 2 of them could afford, had a little extra money to build a little cabin like this. This is a true story. One night there was a man in his cabin. The doors were open, the windows were open. It was in the middle of the summer, hot, and he was sleeping, and all of a sudden he woke up. He was being attacked by a ghost. Actually fought with the ghost. Then he rolled out of bed, ran down to the canyon, and told his friends that he had just been attacked by a ghost. And they thought maybe he'd been drinking a little bit too much whiskey. But just in case, one of them brought a gun. They came back to his cabin, walked in. There's a little table in the middle of the floor, and right in the middle of the table was a big white goose. It had flown in and was fighting with them in the bed. My question was, did he make friends with the goose, or was it a goose dinner the next day? Goose dinner sounds so good right now. All right, come on, here we go.
No, he made friends with him until he got real.
And then made a pillow out of that.
What? No, we did 2 go like that. Nice. Are you talking about from the EMF, or like, are you talking about sketchy as in because like it would fall apart? Yeah. What? Yeah, we missed that. There was
Yeah, you guys stop at that restroom. We'll wait for it. Okay, cool.
Got a little too close.
Anybody who needs to use the restroom, let's use it right now.
Might as well.
Or you can wait till we get down to the bottom of the path, doesn't matter.
I'd rather not have everybody waiting.
Hmm?
I'd rather not have everybody waiting on me.
Yeah.
It just goes down the hill. Go down the hill. I don't know.
You guys want to look at the shop? I'll shine a light in there.
But I could.
And welcome back to Stories of the Dark. I am Glen Clark, and that was the schoolhouse tour of the ghost tour that BlakCircleGirl and I took on January 26th. And I hope you enjoyed the stories that was shared during that, as well as the math problem that our tour guide LT shared with us. That was quite interesting to be a part of that. It was also interesting to sit in those old desks. That in fact, we took some pictures as we were leaving, and I believe I took a picture of the desk that I sat in, and it was quite interesting. It kind of took me back to my to when I was a kid in school, and we also took a class photo outside of the schoolhouse, and that's posted on the Calico Ghost Tours website. You can have a look at that, and you'll see myself and BlakCircleGirl standing in the back, and for some reason I'm the one with glowing eyes. I don't know why that happened, but I definitely saw that I had glowing eyes, so no, I'm not a ghost, or I wasn't possessed or anything, but it was fun to look at. So anyway, as always, I do appreciate your support of the program and hope you will continue to support us. Again, thank you to my over 500 followers now on Twitter. I appreciate each and every one of you, and as you go around, like if you're in the Southern California area and some of the different establishments that we frequent, we put out our business cards and hopes of gaining more listeners. If you happen to run across some of those, pick them up, and on the back have all of our links. If you happen to pick them up and don't want them at the time, don't throw them away. In fact, pass them along to somebody else that might be interested and can use them, because it has all of my websites. BlakCircleGirl has all of her links as well, and any support for her would also be appreciated. She does very good work, and I'd like to see her sales improve a lot more. So and again, I also, as I mentioned before, I have exclusive members only content on Patreon. That's patreon.com/storiesofthedark, and also on Buy Me a Coffee. That's at buymeacoffee.com/storiesofthedark. My older shows, and this one is also on PodOMatic, Pinecast, and SoundCloud. I also have a Tumblr account. I have pretty much social media covered. So, and as I said before, you can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you like what you hear, you can also like and subscribe to me on YouTube. I believe I'm up to either 12 or 13 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed and who will subscribe. Sorry about that. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the program. So I'm Glenn Clark, and this has been Stories of the Dark. Have a great night, everyone.